My name is Owen, and I am a stage 4 terminal cancer survivor. The diagnosis that I received from my doctors was absolutely terrible. My cancer was discovered in an x-ray, and from that day forward, each test that we did got progressively worse and worse, where the doctors kept finding more tumors, and those tumors were on vital organs, including a large tumor located right behind my heart. And I was devastated, and I felt alone, and I was angry, and I was scared, and I was sad, but I beat cancer. As of today, I've been cancer-free for more than a year. I just got my annual test and my checkup, and my doctor said that I'm healthier than he's ever seen me. In today's video, I'm gonna talk about fasting and how to leverage the tool of fasting to defeat your cancer and return your body to the healthiest it's ever been. I'm gonna go through some studies that introduce you to this topic, and I'm gonna show you the test results that we got from a 7-day fasting camp where I did a CT scan before I went, and then I did a CT scan after I went. So if you are fighting cancer, or if you know someone who is fighting cancer, please send them this video. And remember, we have a ton more on our channel that are just like it. I'm glad that you're here. Let's start with the definition of what fasting is. When we talk about fasting, we're talking about water fasting. So you're drinking only water, you're drinking coffee, and you're drinking tea. That's it. You might include a 0-calorie drink with some natural flavors in it, like Zevia or sparkling water, but I think that starts to really bend the rules with fasting, and you really want to stick to hydration and electrolytes. But this is the same water fasting that you've heard about in religious circles, or maybe if you're a biohacker or a health nut, you follow, Huberman's podcast, like you've heard about this before. We are not talking about a juice fast, and we're not talking about like a cleanse. Like, this is straight water fasting, and we're not talking about starvation either. We're not talking about a blanket stop eating everything. There is a system and there's a process to fasting, and there are different types of fasting. There's dry fasting, which is where no food, no water. That is not what we're doing. There's also intermittent fasting, which is fasting for a certain window throughout the day. So you're spacing out your meals. There's also 24-hour fasting, and there's extended fasting, which is like 7 days and beyond. There have been numerous studies on fasting, and fasting has been shown to be completely safe and extremely effective in suppressing tumor growth. In fact, this study shows that undergoing intermittent fasting for just 5 days per week can significantly extend the lifespan of those who have cancer. And this is not just one study. There are multiple studies that have been done, and there are well-documented cases of fasting being extremely safe and effective against not just cancer, but other various health problems. The Guinness Book of World Records for fasting is held by a Scotsman, Angus Barbary, who is, as you can see, dramatically overweight. And he fasted for 382 days. That's more than a year, where he survived on mainly tea, coffee, sparkling water, and vitamins, and had lived at his home, but would frequently visit Mayfield Hospital for medical evaluation. This is back in 1939. Now, Angus lost a lot of weight, and his skin retracted back to almost normal size, which was an amazing study at the time. But you're not gonna have to fast for 300 days. This was for a weight loss case. Let's bring fasting into the cancer world, where Dr. Alan Goldhammer is, in my opinion, by far leading the charge. There are some other great leaders in the fasting world as well. Dr. Eric Berg is one of those. Jason Fung is another big name in fasting. Dr. Mindy Pelz is fantastic, and she really focuses on women. But I want to bring it back to Dr. Alan Goldhammer, because I don't think anyone is more distinguished in actually running cancer patients through a regimented, supervised fasting routine, where cancer patients are actively seeing a huge decrease, if not a total elimination, of their cancer and their symptoms. And this is groundbreaking. So Dr. Alan Goldhammer, in this lymphoma study, where the patient underwent a medically supervised 21-day water-only fast, after which her enlarged lymph nodes were substantially reduced in size. At the 6 and 9 month follow-up visits, the patient's lymph nodes were non-palpable and she remained asymptomatic. This is one of many patients that Dr. Alan Goldhammer has evaluated at his clinic, the True North Health Clinic in California, where I called him and I asked if I could go to his clinic. Now, at the time, I got to speak to him, and he's an incredible guy. His story is fascinating. When I talked to him, he didn't have any room. He said, I can't get you in here for like a year, but call one of my former students. And he recommended to me Dr. Gracie's wellness clinic in, I want to say, the Ohio, Pennsylvania area. I flew into the Cleveland airport. From there, her team picked me up, and I went to this beautiful cottage in Amish country where I did a medically supervised fast. And after I came back from that 7-day fast, I never had any symptoms of cancer, and my tumors were shown to be metabolically inactive. But you can't just jump into a 7-day water fast. You need to build up to it, and it's a little tough at first. So what I want to do in this video is go through my fasting routine so that you can start fasting right now. And if you have cancer and you're going through this and you want to explain this to somebody who you're married to, or maybe your family, because look, I have family that are nurses and PAs and stuff, and you know, while all of them support me in getting better, there was a process of having to gain their support and having to show them that, you know, going holistic does not mean, you know, throwing all the science and the data out the window and following some dude in an apartment building, right, in downtown Manhattan, is like they show you in the Seinfeld episode, right? Not at all. In fact, I believe that the holistic route follows the most up-to-date science and leaves behind some of the medical myths that industrial science has been carrying around for decades. This is why we see holistic people surviving more and more, and it's changing the way that we view cancer. So let's go into my fasting routine and start there. The first and most important fasting strategy you need to learn is fasting for chemo. If you're doing chemo right now, my heart goes out to you. It is hard. Chemo is hard. And I'm not here to tell you that you can't get results on chemo. I'm here to tell you I went through chemo, and fasting during chemo was the best thing I could have done. Now, I did chemo without fasting, and I did chemo with fasting. And if I had one thing to tell you, it's fast during chemo. You should fast the day before chemo, the day of chemo, and the day after chemo. So that is a 72-hour fast. And anybody watching this right now can do a 72-hour fast without medical supervision. There may be some extreme cases where you're doing a lot of pharmaceutical drugs and may not have that energy, but that's going to be a small percentage of people. If you have the energy to go and find a YouTube video and watch it and be taking notes, you have the energy to do a 72-hour fast. You are not going to lose a ton of weight from that. In fact, your body is just going to begin to enter what's called the autophagy zone. Now, I did chemotherapy once a month. So I did 3 days a month where I was fasting, and I quit chemotherapy. I quit after 3 cycles, but I continued to do a 3-day fast every single month. So that's how I want you to look at this, is like in like a monthly sort of calendar or a schedule. So 3 days a month, you're going to do a water-only fast. And during this time, you can work, right? You can go to work and you can do things. I'm blessed to work at home. So I was able to, the first 2 days, I really did my work. But on the last day of the fast is when you're kind of the most fatigued and even the most peaceful. And I just have to encourage you, you've got to drink tons of water, tons, more than you normally would drink. And you've got to get rest, right? You've got to be in a place where you're not so hustle and bustle and you're really allowing your body to heal. If during this time you can do a hyperbaric chamber, if during this time you can go get a massage, if during this time you could go sit in the sunlight and just enjoy it. This is a great way to get the most out of your 3-day chemo fast. Why do you fast on chemo? To eliminate side effects and symptoms. It eliminated my nausea for me. The fasting process causes healthy cells to go dormant, protecting them from the chemo, thereby maximizing the amount of chemo that's absorbed by the cancer cells, which results in more effective chemotherapy and fewer side effects on healthy cells. The next type of fasting that you should start implementing today is daily intermittent fasting. And this is where you go at least 12 to 16 hours without food. The best way to do this on a daily basis is to stop eating dinner at around 6 or 7 p.m. It can even be 8 or 9 p.m. And then you don't eat again, not even snacking. Water, yes. Tea, yes. I would not drink coffee after dinner, not even decaf. But you're gonna go overnight and then a few hours into the next morning, 12 to 16 hours. For me, 12 hours was easy. 16 hours was my sweet spot. I used to be in this great place of fasting at intermittent fasting at 16 hours. And here's what you're gonna see happens. When you fast for that long, you're giving your gut time to digest the last of your food and disperse it throughout your body. You're giving your liver time to cleanse and detox. And you're putting your body into a state of ketosis. And ketosis is a scientific term that refers to the process your body goes through when you're fasting. When you are in ketosis, your body is actively eating up dead cells, unused cells, and cancer cells inside your body. This is why fasting is so effective. This is why we do it. It puts your body in ketosis, and it puts you in a higher level of ketosis the longer that you go into fasting. So daily intermittent fasting is the way to keep your body always nibbling at your cancer and eating away cancer cells. So what I would do is I would do Tuesday through Friday would be intermittent fasting. I stop eating at 8 p.m. I even have an alarm in my phone that says stop eating. Even to this day, I do intermittent fasting at 8 p.m. And I don't eat again until 12 to 14 hours later. I think today I went 15 hours and my body felt it. My body was ready to eat food at that time. Start your intermittent fasting routine now. This will start to program your body to fast. Start with 12 hours, and then as you start to feel the effects of ketosis, your brain power should clear up. Like you may not feel this right away. In fact, when you first start fasting, you might be like, this is terrible. Why would someone do this? Right? But that's because you're in a poor state of metabolic health. I had a friend say to me, oh, I could never fast. My body starts to shake after 4 hours. That's because you're in a poor state of metabolic health. That's not normal. And what we do is we accept that as normal or like, that's just me. And it's not true. Your body could be in a much more optimal state of health, but you have to go through sort of that uncomfortable feeling. It's like, I like to run, but I'll tell you, I was telling my kids, like the first 6 minutes of every run, I'm like hating life. I'm like, this is stupid. Why do I do this, right? This is kind of like hour 13 or hour 14. It's like, this is dumb. I should just break it, but like, just go one more hour. And your body will get used to it and you'll start to produce ketones that you will love. And you'll actually find that you have increased energy. Now, the last type of fasting is OMAD, or 1 meal a day. This is essentially 24-hour fasting. And I measure all of my fasting with an app called Zero. Zero is available on your Android. It's available on your iPhone. You have a free version and you have a paid version. What I love about Zero is that it's got a timer in it and I can see how long I have fasted and I can see how long I have to go. I have used Zero in all of my long-term fasting and it helps me keep track. Like when I look at those numbers, like, man, I fasted like all month, or I was fasting for the last like 90 days. Like you see what you've been able to accomplish and you know that you're doing the things that you need to do to beat cancer. As you start to fast and as you start to follow people like me and people like Chris Wark and some of the other sort of cancer people on the internet, you're gonna see that we all did the same kind of things. And fasting kind of bonds us all and unites us all, because all the cancer thrivers and survivors that I know did fasting at some level. I did fasting at an extreme level because I mean a safe level, but I did as much as I felt my body could do, because I have 4 kids and I'm determined to survive for them. I also have a very strong faith. I believe in God, and I believe that I'm running the race and must endure to the end. And so even though like cancer got hard, it was still like beatable. You know, I always kept my belief system up. Even those days where I felt like this sucks, man. Like I hate having cancer. I hate seeing that the neighbors can live their life and they don't have cancer. And like, how come that guy who's this terrible person, like how come he doesn't how come I had cancer? You know, like I had to keep bringing myself back to it that like, you know what? I can focus on the life I want, or I can focus on the life I have, you know? And I decided to focus on the life I have, and this will be good. This will work out for better. My kids will have a dad that defied all the odds, and that's worth it. And that was worth it to me, and that was my why, and I had a reason. And on top of that, like, I don't like being told what to do. I don't like that they told me I was gonna die and there was nothing I could do about it. You know, I wanted to prove the doctors wrong too. And as a side note, man, you know, my doctors were rude to me. You know, my doctors kept reminding me that I was gonna die. And like, I eventually left that doctor because it's like, I can't sit here and be told that, imagine having a coach that's like, hey, you're never gonna win, Hemsaf. You know what I mean? You're never gonna beat anybody, so, you know, but show up to practice anyway, right? Do chemo anyway, but it won't save you and nothing will, right? And that was my experience. And so if that's been your experience, like I get it. I know that there's a lot of doctors out there that embrace a holistic regime. That was not my experience. Okay, the last type of fasting that you need to become familiar with is 1 meal a day, 24-hour fasting. So from Sunday dinner to Monday dinner, 24 hours, and I'm measuring this in the Zero app, I would eat no food and I would drink tons and tons of water with electrolytes. Even you can drink like keto electrolytes. I still have, you know, I use Dr. Berg's electrolyte powder. But this is tasty. It's raspberry lemon because you need the minerals, right? Your body can thrive off of water, right? You cannot fast from water while you're doing this. So I would drink a lot of water. And you know, here's the thing is you may only make it 20 hours. I got to eat. Listen to your body. You'll build up to it though. The point is to have a goal and to have a regime. So if we look at the calendar and we look at like my calendar month, here's what my week would look like is I would do a 24-hour fast from Sunday night to Monday night. I would break my fast with a keto, vegan, nutritious meal. And then on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, I was intermittent fasting. From Friday to Saturday is what we call our Sabbath. This is where we sort of rest and we refuel. So on Friday night, Saturday night, and Sunday, I would refuel, and I had no limit on my eating, but I ate keto vegan. I did not eat carbs. And while I was going through cancer, I was not eating red meat or any meat at all, really. I may have some salmon here and there on a cheat day or a reward day, but that's maybe once a month. So even though you have to refuel your body, sometimes you'll feel so good fasting that you want to keep fasting, and you, like some of you guys are like high achievers, and I get that, but you have to refuel, and you got to refuel properly. So when you break a fast, like we'll make another video on breaking your fast, like you need to break your fast slowly with like some bone broth and, you know, a small plate of vegetables, and then build into a bigger meal. I don't want to see you guys like immediately jumping into this multi-calorie meal, like not at all. Like the weekends were a time that I'd refuel my body to get ready for that 24-hour fast, and the week would begin again. I did a 3-day extended fast during the chemo, but I extended that even to after I quit chemo. I continued to do that every single month. And then once a year, I do a 7-day fast. The first year, I went to a fasting clinic where I was medically supervised. I had an amazing time and I loved Dr. Gracie. But what I learned is that I didn't need to be medically supervised and therefore didn't need to pay to keep doing that. So now what I do is I rent an Airbnb in a beautiful neighborhood and that I can drive to. I drive out there and I do a 5 to 7 day fast depending on what it is that I need to do. So this is part of my annual thing that you may want to build into your calendar. Now, you've probably got a ton of questions. I want to encourage you to ask them in the comments section below. I will answer as many of those questions as you can. Click our links in the description box. We do have a group that you could become a part of and get more support. It's not easy to find support in the cancer community, especially if you're a caregiver or a survivor. You know, we want to be able to provide that space for you. But how to break a fast, what is a keto vegan diet, how to refuel your body, what foods should I be eating, what foods should I avoid. I'm covering that in another video. I've got a ton more videos on the channel, but if you want to keep this education going, click on the video that's on your screen now. Start watching those videos. I'm Owen, and I'll see you there.